Arizona State University is one of the largest universities in the United States. It's ranked number one in innovation, number one in global impact, number one in sustainability, and it's the number one public university for international students in the US. There's quite a few reasons that ASU has been ranked number one in innovation now for 11 years in a row. So one of the key factors that's important for students from Korea to understand is that all of our degrees are designed together between the university and industry. So they're there, built, purpose to get students jobs after graduation. Over the last 5 or 6 years, a lot of the tech companies that have typically been associated with the Bay Area and Silicon Valley have actually left California and come to places like Arizona. Phoenix has been a major beneficiary of the growth of the tech industry recently. This means internships and jobs for students, particularly in the areas of logistics, data, operations, and semiconductor manufacturing. TSMC, the largest semiconductor producer in the world, now has their second largest facility in the world in Arizona. But besides TSMC, there's also companies like Intel, LG, and lots of different opportunities for students. Students from Korea are typically going to study majors in engineering, computer science, and business. That's what we see the most often. But we also get a lot of students from Korea studying things like design, fashion, architecture, really a lot of different directions. I think there's always going to be demand for engineers. There's always going to be a demand for people doing business. I think a lot of students right now are thinking about their jobs 4 or 5 years from now and really looking at semiconductors and really looking at AI. Personally, I think one of the best majors at ASU for students from Korea is supply chain management. This is ranked number 2 in the US, and it's not just a great program, a great industry to get into. When students are going and looking for internships and jobs, they're going to have a lot of those soft skills that companies are looking for, like speaking multiple languages, understanding multiple cultures, and having lived in multiple countries. So we do have specific degrees in AI, both on the engineering side and on the business side. But really every major ASU is going to have AI interwoven into it. I think we know that every student right now needs to be competent in AI, and really you're going to get exposure to it at ASU no matter what you study. For students coming to ASU, a big advantage is the size and scale of the university itself. We have about 400 different majors to choose from, so really anything that students want to study, they can. Another advantage of the size of ASU is that we can invest quite a bit in scholarships. So for students coming from Korea, they can get up to about 50% of their tuition paid for through a scholarship. So for students from Korea interested in scholarships, the main 2 things that we're looking at is your grades and your English scores. These are really the 2 most important factors for students to be able to get a scholarship from ASU. Now, beyond the scholarships that are available upon admission, we have hundreds, even thousands of other scholarships that students can apply for. So depending on whether you are, for example, a woman in STEM or an athlete, there's a lot of extra scholarships that students can get. So we have a really fantastic career services at ASU that international students have access to. Beyond the university's career services, the School of Global Management, the School of Business, and the School of Engineering also have their own career services as well. So they're helping students with their resumes. We're bringing in the actual HR recruiters from different companies to do mock interviews and give them feedback. We've got peer mentoring. We can do job shadowing, so if there's maybe a company or an industry that you're interested in and you want to go see what it's like to work in that office, we can arrange that. So a lot of different support for students to be able to find internships and jobs. Also, one important thing to keep in mind is that Phoenix is one of the largest cities in the United States, and we really only have one major university. So there's only one place for all these companies to come find interns and employees. So we get a lot of transfer students from Korea. One of the first things you can do is actually go to our website and you can check our transfer guide, and you'd be able to start to get an idea of what kind of courses are going to transfer over. A really big advantage for transfer students is that we don't have any prerequisites and we don't require any kind of SATs or ACTs. So just come in with your grades and we'll figure it out. So most of our undergraduate students are going to live on campus in the dorms during the first year, and this is really what I would recommend. Living in the dorm, you're going to be wrapped up in that kind of cocoon of support academically, socially during that first year. Most students do like to live off campus starting their second year. So by then you've made friends, you know the city, and students typically like to live off campus starting the second year. So at ASU, we have about 1,500 different clubs for students to join. So really, whatever you're interested in, anything you want to explore in terms of hobbies, any ways you want to make friends, there are clubs for that. There are also very professional clubs as well, where you're actually going to be working with future colleagues and working on projects that you'll be adding to your resume. Now, besides clubs to join, I do recommend students from Korea to get an on-campus job as well. At ASU, we have a lot of on-campus jobs available. So this is a really good way to make a little bit of extra money, but it's also a really good way to practice your English, to make friends, and learn a little bit more about American culture. So this is a really great thing to kind of add on to the education you're already getting. We have a lot of success stories for students graduating from ASU. So last year, about 90% of our students found jobs within 90 days of graduation. So for students interested in working after they graduate, it's a great option for them. We just recently had a student from Korea that was studying engineering that graduated and is now working at TSMC in Phoenix. So for students coming to ASU with those slightly lower high school GPAs and doing the Global Launch Pathways programs, some of them will be required to take 8 to 16 weeks of English before they start the pathway program. Now, typically what these are meant to do is give the students a little bit more support before they enter their pathway program. We want to make sure that students are serious about their studies, that they're going to be coming to class and doing their homework. Also important to remember that even though they are doing English classes, it's very academic. So oftentimes what students are working on is academic writing, source citing, presentation skills, and so you're not really learning ABCD. It's called English, but it's very high level and very academic.